Hello, before starting our lesson, let's focus on something you are noticing when you create a project in Eclipse. You are creating a class and then include inside it public static void main method. In this tutorial, we'll understand well what is the class. A class is a template that holds the properties and behaviors of created objects. As we mentioned in the previous tutorial, the class has constructor, and we will talk about it later, has fields, and has methods. When you set a name for a class, you have to match the following rules. Let's know that the class name is created in a file whose extension is .java, so that its name must be the exact name of the file name. It also has the same name rules of the variables naming rules. Let's assume that we are inside a school. We want to represent students' data in that school. So we will create a class and we'll name it student to represent a state of a student. So let's create a new class. Here we will type the name of the class. Let's name it student. In this time we will not create public static void main method, so that we will click finish. Now as we see, we have class student and that's its file name. Let's try to change the name of the class and save. As we see, there is a compilation problem in our program, so we can't compile this code anyway. As we see, public type student must be defined in its own file. So let's return it as it is, student. Now it compiled successfully. And now inside the class student, let's have the following properties. Let's say that we want to add the properties of first name, last name, age, and the grade. How we will represent them? Let's declare string space, and let's name the string first name. Another string, let's name it last name. Int age, int grade. So now we have a class whose name is student. The class student has the following 4 fields which represent its properties. Those fields are first name and of type string, last name, age, and grade. Let's also add a behavior to the class student. Let's say attend classes, which will be a method, and we will type before this method the keyword void and then open curly brackets, and inside this method let's print anything such as attending classes with happiness. Okay, as we see, we have a class student has the following properties and the following behavior. The next step is to see how to use classes practically, how to access its properties, its behaviors practically. So let's create another class which will be our main class and will contain the public static void main method, as we see. So what will we do now to declare a variable of the class? As we know, if we want to declare a variable of type integer and name it x, we will type int space x. The class declaration is by the same way without no difference. So instead of typing int, let's type student. Let's first press Ctrl space. As we see in the list suggestion, we see student as it is existed in our program, as we see here. So let's click on student and then save. As we see, our code compiled successfully. And now, what if we typed x dot? As we see in the list suggestion, it suggests, as we see, age, first name, grade, last name. What are those? Do you remember? Those were the properties that we declared inside the class student. So as we see, we have age, first name, grade, last name. So if we typed x.age and say equals 5, for example, as we see, by this way it will assign 5 to the age of variable x, which is of student type. If you want to execute a method of the student class, which is, as we see, attend classes, and this method appeared in the suggestion list, let's press it. As we see, we have x dot attend classes, which will execute the instructions inside this method. Okay, in this tutorial we learned how to create classes, how to add fields and methods to the class, how to declare variable of the class, and how to access the fields of the class from this variable. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.